Welcome everybody to the Grimdark Breakdown. We are going to be doing another unit deep dive talking about the Deathwing Knights. We're going to talk about how to use them. We're going to talk about if we should take a leader and what leader, and then an example of how I like to actually play them on the tabletop. So, first and foremost, we're going to talk about their weapon loadouts. There's really only one choice, and it's what you take on the leader. In 100 out of 100 situations, you will take their maces on the four main guys that have anti-monster and anti-vehicle. The possibility of getting one additional attack but losing that, you could tell me that every army that's good right now is running horde stuff, and I'd go, cool story. They're still going to have transports, or they're going to have a tank or something that I want to have game into. And Terminators are not built to kill trash anyway, so I'm still taking the maces. Now on the leader, you could go, do you want the sustained hits, devastating wound mace, or do you want the additional attack, lethal hits, higher strength sword? That one I can flip on. I probably take the sword as often as I take the mace. If we're dealing with more elite infantry, I'm definitely leaning mace. If we're dealing with more katana and stuff like that, I like the lethal hits. 7 attacks with lethal hits means that I should get at least one, if not maybe two if I'm lucky. So that being said, I really like either one, just depending on the situation. So it really depends. We're talking about characters. Man, I wish the captain was useful. I think he's a cool model. I think his power fist is nice. Rerolling charges is always awesome. Free stratagem is great because you're going to armor contempt these guys all the time. But 95 is expensive. And normally you're taking a character with Terminators for some type of enhancement. If it's Wrath of the Rock, it's because you're wanting to have the flexibility to deep strike them on turn one. Man, here's my problem with that, is that 95 point character now becomes 110 points. It's just too expensive. If he was 85, say he was 10 more than the other characters, okay, I'll take that deal. I can play with that. But at his current cost, that's why you never see him. The Librarian and Terminator armor, which, came out this edition, and I don't think anybody runs for any army. Psychic is just not a thing in the game. So he gives you a 4-up invoke, or feel no pain, against Psychic. Just doesn't really matter. The sustained hits is nice. Don't get it twisted. The sustained hits is nice, but your Terminators aren't the hammer. They're the anvil. They're meant to like be the shield. They're not out there like just killing stuff. So for that cause, again, if he was cheaper, because all three of the other characters are all 75 points. So if he was 60 points, 65 points, then okay. Because what you're saying is like, basically I'm getting a free enhancement. I could be on board with that. I could 100% be on board with that. So then what you really boil down to is kind of what you see here. You can take them solo, or you can run them with one of these two that I've got here. Either the Ancient or the Chaplain. They have different uses. So the Chaplain, both of his abilities are great. Having a 4-up feel no pain against mortals all the time, not just your once per game with your Watcher, kicks butt. It's really good. It's really good. And +1 to wound with that unit is also really good. Especially when they start fighting into infantry. Now you're wounding a lot of infantry on 3s or 2s. They can start thumping. The leadership, though, on the other side, because the other one gives you a leadership bonus. Turning is an example there with the Chaplain, that 6 OC unit into a 12 OC unit. It matters. It really does. I played a bunch of games where I had just enough OC because of that character that I was able to flip a point. Now, yes, I know that, in Wrath of the Rock, you have an ability when you're in engagement to get an additional pip, but normally at that point you got a guy or two dead. And so being that you might have, we'll say 4 left, so you're at 8 OC, and now all of a sudden you go to 12 OC, you can start contesting against some real threats, which is actually starts getting kind of good. But on the flip side, you've got higher survivability and better killing with the Chaplain. I make the argument for either one. That being said, let's talk about, kind of the actual Terminators themselves. So they have two abilities. First one, most important one, Inner Circle, -1 damage. This is huge. There is a ton of 2 and 3 damage out in the game right now. And the fact that you turn you either halving their damage or you're taking 33% of it away is a big deal. It's a really big deal. The amount of times that someone has shot me with a 3 damage gun and been like, okay, that's 1 dead Terminator. And you're like, oh, they actually have 4 health. And they go, and it's -1 damage. So I only take 2 damage. And they just kind of look at you like, dang, they have a 2 base, 4 up invo. You're going to keep them in cover. You're going to save armor contempt for them. So these guys are tough to remove. They are very tough to remove. And in this detachment, the +1 to wound, man, the amount of times, when I was at the tournament, I had a guy that he brought a great unclean one into him. And I was like, cool, wounding on 3s. And he's like, ugh, armor contempt. So I'm saving on 3s. Ugh. And it was just one of those situations where it was like they just start surviving a lot longer than they should. The second is a teleport homer, lets you rapid ingress for free. Here's what I like to do. I like to use it where the opposite of my plan. So if we're looking at this table layout, their natural expansion is the blue, ours is the red. And then the middle is obviously, the true no man's land, right? I'll use mine a lot of the time over in this area. We'll put a dice there. I'll use mine a lot of the time somewhere like here. Give me a blue dice so we can actually see it. Because then I can bring them in within 3 inches. They're going to move 5 to the wall, and then they can threaten a charge into here, which is what a normal player would think. Oh, hey, yeah, if he brings somebody in here, they're realistically charging into the middle. They're charging into here, and they're doing it in a place where they're not going to get shot. Okay. But my actual plan is to contest their expansion objective, right? So I really want to play them one of 2 ways. When I'm bringing them in, if I go first, I am turn 1 deep striking, and I grapple one without a character. I am turn 1 deep striking 100% of the time on their expansion. I want to create pressure early. So I'm not going to do this perfect, so don't kill me in the comments. But my whole goal here is I want to make it difficult for them to shoot me, but at the same time, I want to be on that point. So if they do nothing, then I'm in control of their expansion point, right? Because you're obviously going to have a whole army that's over here doing stuff. And realistically, the hard part about this is that if they have something that's a gun, it's a big tank or something here, the average one's only going to move 12, right? So that they might be able to get a toe in. If they're guard, they're only going to get to here. So like it's still going to be a really hard line for something over here to be able to shoot, unless they're going to park in the structure and literally be like an inch away from you. But you have Lionel aggression, so they're going to shoot you, and then cool story, in the charge phase, you're going to charge them. So this is where positioning over here is really, really spicy. I'm going to show you an easy example. Okie dokie. So I have got a lovely castigator right here. So let's just pretend this castigator is deployed right here. Well, this castigator is only going to move 12. So even if you say he moves 9 inches this way, and then he moves 3 inches this way, the problem is that like if we're trying to draw a line of sight, you can see like he does not have a line of sight here to shoot them. So the only option for this castigator is to literally go straight forward, and he can't park on the ruin either. So he doesn't have a good option to be able to shoot these guys. And the other problem is if he stages up, he then has to go, okay, I need to make sure that I'm over 6 inches away. So it's going to be a move and get into some kind of position. But then the problem is these Terminators are just going to walk forward and then charge into it. So what you're doing here is you're creating a real problem for any shooting element that they have here, that the goal was to really keep this area fortified with Overwatch or a gun or anything like that. And that's the other beautiful part. If they're overwatching, they can't see you. So they're not going to get to Overwatch. Now, on the flip side, let's say they got, a vehicle here. Well, now he can see. So now they can shoot you, right? Okay, great. You're going to get the benefit of cover. So let's pretend it's a really good gun. So let's pretend, it's some big old Tau or Astra Militarum or whatever gun, and it's got minus 3, because there's not a lot of -4 volume guns in the game. But there are some ones that it could be D6, little casino cannons. What if he's got a Vindicator and I'm 23 inches away, right? So he's going to get those shots at -3. Well, I'm in cover, so now it goes to -2. I'm an armor contempt, so now it goes to -1. So now you're saving. And the beautiful part is like, let's pretend that casino cannon pops off, right? Let's say he gets 6 attacks, which would be great, and let's pretend he hits on all 6 of them, all of them. Okay, cool. Now you're wounding on 3, so you're going to miss 2 of them. And so you get 4 wounds through on me. Well, -1. I'm saving on a 3. You're statistically only going to fail 1 of those saves. And if you wanted, you could command point reroll. I wouldn't, but I'd let him roll the dice, because keep in mind, to kill you, even with a casino gun, he has to roll a 5, because it's -1 damage to kill 1 model. So you can understand very quickly how this unit can really soak up some damage. And if that Vindicator here in this example is shooting into these guys, or this Cascadator shooting into these guys, they're not interacting with the rest of the board. And they know that if I move that direction, those Terminators are going to come forward and attack me. Otherwise, they're literally just meant there to just stand there and be shooting practice. So they're really, really a good unit for this. The other cool thing is if they've got something, say you're playing Blood Angels, or maybe there's a Catan or something like this that you think is a melee threat, you got the Lion, and you're going to pick him up on turn 1. So if they want to charge in, as soon as they move, okay, cool story. I'm going to rapid ingress the Lion down, and then he's going to giggle, and nothing's going to shoot him because he's got lone op, and he's going to be near your boys here. And then when they charge, you heroic in. So the Terminators present such a unique problem for your opponent to have to deal with, and very few people are going to have the gun profile to hit them from range. And in melee, most melee is damage 2. Going to 1, man, it's rough. It's very, very rough. +1 to wound and -1 damage make these guys a pain in the butt to remove. So I personally love running them and using them to contest my opponent. I don't ever actually want them to score any points. All I'm hoping is 1 or 2 turns I keep them from scoring points. If they've done that, they do their job masterfully, because I'm banking on that I'm going to hold the other 3. And if I have 1 turn where I go up 5 points in primary, then now he has to start getting really aggressive and play catch up, or he'll lose the game. Last thing, how do you kill them? How do you deal with them? That's the part that it is clearly more difficult. So there's 2 really good tactics that I've had used against me. One is use 2 different pieces of trash. So I'll give you an example here. Use these Battle Sisters or Dominions. So these would be a perfect example, because these girls would scout, so they'd be, somewhere in here. I'm not going to put them in there because they'll rage. So then they would move 7 inches if you're playing the correct detachment, and then you're going to advance them. And here's the whole goal: you're advancing them to get them like here as an example. And the reason you're doing this is because they can only get into so much stuff, and then you have a second unit like these Seraphim, which are going to fly in behind them to get on the point. And so now at this point, you massively out OC them, right? They are going to spend the CP on their turn to Lionel aggression in, and they're going to kill a lot of these sisters. A lot of these sisters will die, but you still are going to have 5 here. So as long as 1 or 2 can survive, then now you can actually win the OC game. Not to mention, you're going to have the ability, when these guys move, to potentially try to shoot at them or do anything. This Castigator is going to try to kill 1. So the goal would be you're going to try to kill 1 in shooting, maybe 2 if you get really lucky. And then you have 2 waves of units. And the whole goal is you're sacrificing that first one 100%. You're just saying, hey, I'm going to out OC you so that I can now take this point from you. It's not as much about killing, because even if this unit was a good killing unit and you charged in and you kill 2 of them, which would be really good, then they're going to kill some back. And so you just start playing the trading game that the Dark Angels player wants. So realistically, unless you just pop off and damage, you should be trying to out OC them more than out kill them. Because if you're trying to out kill them, you're probably committing too much resources. So hopefully this is helpful. Remember, we've got the Tyranid giveaway going on this whole month. Any of our Meta Monday videos, drop the word Tyranid, like and subscribe. You can enter a chance to win. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys, knowing how to play Dark Angels, Deathwing Knights, and also a little tip on how to maybe deal with them. But drop a like for the Emperor, subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next one.